Hey there. I actually wanted to continue on my discussion on conspiracy theories. I had just some thoughts, so I just decided to take a quick video to, express them. Probably, the advent of conspiracy theories and its interest started with a book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy. It's a small little pamphlet published in the 70s, I believe. And that kind of started the whole movement of kind of questioning authorities every time, some kind of major event took place, whether it's Oklahoma bombing or 9/11 or whatever you have, to question the official government story. Over the years, as governments have been the government under the Freedom of Information Act has been declassifying different documents pertaining to a myriad of government programs that were once secret, now became apparent through this declassification. People began to learn that a lot of myths that the U.S. government or other governments were pushing, official stories, whether it's Gulf Tonkin incidents, whether it's Bay of Pigs incidents, or POWs, the prisoners of war that were left behind on the fields of Korea and Vietnam, and all those stories were brought home, and it kind of reinvigorated this dissident ideas among the American public. And probably can also maybe trace, the conspiracies back to the emergence of the Masonic fraternity, when in 1825, the so-called Captain Morgan had first published and exposed, the Masonic Society, with its myriad of rituals and other things. Then later in the 19th century, as well as the early 20th century, the Masonic fraternity and its mainstream authors began to publish encyclopedias and many other books explaining what the Masonic fraternity is all about, what the Masonic tradition is all about. One can think of Manly P. Hall and Albert Pike with his book on morals and dogma, and obviously, Manly P. Hall wrote in the early 20th century, in 1920s, I believe, the book called The Secret Teachings of All Ages, where they kind of delved deeper into the subject matter of Masonic philosophy and esoterica. Something that Blavatsky examined. So, and that kind of gave more fuel to the people to come up with more conspiracy theories, such as Masons ruling the world. Other cabal or group of people is pulling all the strings and makes the world go around. I don't know. Truly, I think it's two things why conspiracy theories are so prevalent. One of them is, like I was mentioning before in my previous talk, is a lack of information. However, there is a second part to it, which I think is general human laziness. Everyone wants kind of a quick construct, a quick system to kind of go into. That's why people do follow different leaders, do follow different radio show hosts, because they do provide, that system of thought that helps them discern the good and the ill in the world. And because people do look at the world in terms of kind of black and white, good and bad. And the conspiracy theories, they do feed into that particular worldview, into that dichotomy, so to speak. And they do say that, them, quote unquote, are bad, and we, the people who are being oppressed and told the lies, are basically good, and we need to wake up and understand that everything we have been told from the childhood on is big lie, and we need to break away from that and go to the truth. Any serious thinker, any serious philosopher or a publicist or a journalist can tell you that anyone who claims that they have in possession the truth and that they are kind of the sole progenitor of the truth, the true holder of the truth, come to me, I will tell you, the history of the world. There is, one author I can think of, her last name is Archeria or Akeya, basically from the Indian, from the Hindu Sanskrit, it means like the guru or the teacher, Archeria or something like that. I'll, check it later on. But in any case, obviously it's her pseudonym, it's her pen name, it's not a real name. A white person would not have a Indian name that means guru or a teacher, but she has this book, thick book, maybe like 700-800 pages, called The History of the World, and she claims that she will tell you the truth, the true history of the world, not like you've been taught in textbooks and schools and so forth, and you will know the truth of actually what the world history was. Just buy my book and read it. I didn't even bother reading it. I'm not going to read it. I think it belongs in the garbage. And she claims she has this monopoly on truth. She knows the truth. Come to me. I know the gospel. I know the truth. So be warned about that. Anytime when somebody claims that they do have the truth and no one else around them does, I stay away from such people, such authors, such thinkers. How can someone says they have exclusivity on truth? Everyone has their own experience in life, their own thinking, their own situations that they had encountered, and they met different people in different parts of the world, different walks of life. Nobody has exclusivity on truth. If you do, you're simply deceiving people. I think a true thinker, a true philosopher, what we do is every time we have some new information or some breaking through idea, we change our views, we modify it based on the new information that comes in. We're not afraid to admit that we were wrong in thinking about this particular subject from this particular angle. We were wrong to think of it in that context. And then we correct ourselves and we move on. So two things I would like to leave you with is that conspiracy theories stem from two reasons. One of them is lack of information in the mainstream media, and which is true. There is, if you turn on any kind of mainstream media, there is nothing but trivial news. And a second thing is general human laziness. In addition to that, people, when they do any kind of research, whatever they call that, what they do is they try to find information that justifies their belief system. So they already believe in something and they go on the internet or read books or watch documentaries with the preconceived ideas and notions of what they need to find in order to justify their comfortable belief system. They're not really kind of seekers of truth or trying to discern and understand the world. What they're trying to do is just find another piece of information that justifies their existing belief system, which is very dangerous because you can stay in your swamp forever, for a long time, for your whole life, and not even know it. So information is out there. One just needs to look hard enough and maybe even, I don't know, if you're an organization or if you're a lawyer, submit a request for information through the Freedom of Information Act, or read unclassified materials, because scholars do go into the unclassified or declassified sections in the government archives, and they do unearth a lot of different kernels of truth, which then they kind of put together in scholarly papers and works, and you can read them. It is available if one wants to seek it out. Just to give you, quick last example, I was researching the so-called, chemtrails, the condensation trails that we see in the sky. And through my heavy, deep research, I uncovered that there are actually white papers. And for those of you who don't know, that white papers what dubbed, scientific papers. So in the scientific community, they call them white papers. So the scientific papers on the condensation trails, and they actually do study how they change colors, how they create haze in the sky, how do they affect the Earth's albedo, and so forth. And one can go into these different universities and find those scientific papers. And I encourage you to do that if you are studying the condensation trails that you see in the sky. I wrote an article about it a few years ago, which was published by many patriotic radio stations, until I started discovering that the scientists are looking into that phenomenon of the chemtrails and how they spread out and they build into these cumulus clouds and then maybe even affect rain, maybe affect global warming or whatnot. So there are studies out there, and it's very interesting. So don't be afraid to also, don't be afraid that the new information shatters completely your worldview, turns it upside down. Well, in any case, thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you next time on the Arsenic Theory channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell button so you do not miss any of my talks. Thanks again, and have a great day.